recognitions. Moving on down, Dr. Lipscomb, floor is yours.
Yes, I would like to recognize Rich Abishon as an outgoing board member. Rich has served for one term of 3 years. 2 of those 3 years, he was served as vice president on the board of officers for the Board of Education. So just appreciate his service, his commitment to our school district, and everything that he's done. So I have something here that we'd like to present. We'll also have a reception here in a little bit, halfway through. Would invite you to stay for that. But as the plaque says, Mr. Rich Abishon, with our gratitude for your time, talent, and support of our students, parents, and staff, we appreciate your standard of excellence and your contribution to the future of our district. Jeff City Public Schools Board of Education, Vice President and member here for 3 years. So we'd like to tell you a thank you. Publicly appreciate it.
Just from a board perspective, and take a couple of moments if anybody else would like to offer some comments or maybe some stories about Rich when we were younger. And you never know what will end up in the newspaper. But one of the reasons that
statute of limitations is run.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. So I will tell you definitely from getting to work with Rich for the last 3 years, he has been extremely important to the board in terms of your leadership, especially early on in regards to the construction projects in the early days after Propositions J and C passed. So Rich's experience in regards to large project management, construction management, things of that nature, that you develop those skills in the public sector as well as in private. That's been very, very helpful to this board and to this community because you're a big part of why this project is on time and under budget. So just wanted to say thanks for your service, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate being able to work with you.
It's been a pleasure myself. So thank you all. I leave you in trusted good hands. The opportunity to serve on the board, I think, is a good one. And I think it's wonderful that other people get a chance to do it as well. The reason I say that is not for my own sake having a bad experience. That's not true at all. I've had a great experience. And 3 years goes amazingly fast. Not when you're 13. But I remember those years were excruciatingly long, which would seem like infinity, but 3 years seems to go so much faster now. And with that, I think it's also great to have people who have new ideas, a new vision, a new way of looking at things, take this role and become leaders themselves. And the reason that we do this work, that why we're here, and why people are here attending this is not simply for platitudes to put on our resumes. It should be meaningful for our community. And I hope that I've had a chance to do that and that the next people will have the opportunity to do that with grace and honor as well. So thank you for letting me know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rich.
Well done.
All right, moving on to difference makers, Dr. Lipscomb.
Yes, we recognize each month folks that are making a difference in our school district. And so this month we are excited. We have 3 pillars that we talk about all the time: learning, partnership, and stewardship. And those 3 pillars. We'll start out here with stewardship. We have here, if Mr. Verslois would come forward here and present our recipient here of stewardship.
Assistant Principal Shayna Schwartzer is
Yes.
represented.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
I'll invite those 2 up to the podium.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so this is Kim Baird, and Kim goes out of her way multiple times daily to help other staff members, specifically in the office. We have a new receptionist placed in the hallway, which makes coverage difficult. Kim checks in on her often, relieves her when she needs to step away for a quick break. Kim goes out of her way to make sure that things are taken care of and makes her experience here as pleasant as it can be due to construction headaches. Kim also goes out of her way daily to help others, the attendance secretary, cover if she needs help for leave. Kim is just awesome coworker who deserves way more than a nomination, but this is all I can do for now. She is definitely a difference maker for Jefferson City High School, and we are glad that she's part of our team. She was nominated by coworker of hers, Jennifer Rissmiller.
Okay, thank you. There we go. Thank you. Next, under our learning pillar, we have, I believe, Lori and Heather. Somebody like to introduce to West Elementary. So if you come forward, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I've had the privilege of working alongside Mr. Dames this year as principal at West, and as Mr. Dames is the third grade teacher. And first, I'd like to read what Shelby Scarborough said about Mr. Dames while she was rounding at West. She said that Brendan Dames was recognized as a difference maker. Brendan Dames is phenomenal. He is well beyond his years. He has been such an asset to West Elementary School. His ability to create a family spirit in his classroom has had a huge impact on his students. The deeper connection he has created with his students has enabled them all to make great gains as learners and as people. And I echo all of those sentiments. Brendan has a unique ability to build relationships with all of his students, and he knows them not just academically, but he knows all of their interests. And it is truly a safe place to come into his classroom where students are pushed and they also take risks. So I have loved the opportunity to work with Mr. Dames this year. Congratulations.
Did you get it? Can we get one more? Okay, under our partnership.
Oh, we got one more learning.
We do have one more learning, so just need making sure you're paying attention.
It's a test learning.
Well, it is partnership too. It is. I'd like for Dr. Day and Michelle Lubering to join me. Okay. Well, this letter was, this nomination for Michelle Lubering was made by a parent, Sarah Early. And I'd like to read to you the letter that she submitted for this. It says, since my son started the 4th grade, I've noticed a world of difference and improvement with his attitude, schoolwork, and overall betterment of his whole performance while a student in Michelle's class. This lady's heart is so full of love and support for her students, and it shows in more ways than one. What I mean by this is that she always gives a helping, supportive hand to parents as well, which is why I want to tell you Michelle deserves this award. I'm a single mom raising 2 boys on my own, and every day I do what I can to provide them with everything they need to live a happy, strong life. A couple of months back, my son Jace just wasn't himself, both at home and at school. Mrs. Lubering noticed this as well and gave me a call. We talked for a while, and I said something about his lack of sleep, and I mentioned him having to sleep on an air mattress. I kindly asked her if she knew of anyone who may be selling a cheap bed or had ideas of someone who might be able to help. And because of her supportive and helping nature, she said, well, I'll let you know what I can come up with. But reassured me that with her help, we were going to get this boy back on track. Not even an hour or 2 later, she calls me and says, I'm on my way to your house with Jace, a brand new bed. Instantly, my heart was so full of joy and my eyes filled with tears because it was like an angel was sent to us. Jace was so happy and thankful, and he will remember this the rest of his life. It also taught us something, to never take things or people for granted, because the simplest things, like a bed, can bring so much joy to someone's life. My heart couldn't thank Michelle enough for what she did. Thanks to her, my son gets a good night's rest every night and wakes up refreshed to start his day at school. Thanks again. You are the best. And that was from Sarah Early. Congratulations.
You're good. Thanks.
Yeah.
I believe we do. Lori? We'll let Lori and Bridget, or either one here, we have one more here in stewardship for this month. If you'll recognize, please.
Well, I'm going to ask Sonia. Come on up as well. So Sonia was nominated by a community member, actually Dr. Jenkins from Delta Sigma Theta. So I'm going to use her words because they are more eloquent than mine. So Sonia was recently honored with the Dorothy Height Award. We are so proud of the work she does in her community. During a recent platform in the community, we heard a lot about Miss Sonia. We especially loved how parents were referring other parents to go see her about different issues. A family talked about how awesome it has been having her in the children's school and how she has helped the family with different community resources. It was then that we learned that she worked for JCPS. We knew that you all needed to know how much of a jewel Miss Sonia is to your district and to the community. In honor of National Social Work Month, we salute and applaud Miss Sonia for her work with families and her community.
Thank you.
More than one more.
We good?
I move we adjourn. Around it up?
I think they're around here.
Okay. All right. Next item of business is consent agenda items. You see those listed before you, items A through E. We look for a motion to approve the consent agenda at this time. Thank you, Rich. Thank you, Lorelei. Any discussion? And all in favor of approving the consent agenda items, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good, the consent agenda is approved. Moving on to reports and communications. We got Chief of Learning update from Dr. Schindler.
Okay, thank you. So by way of a few updates, I've been talking to you about the new ELA resource. And again, appreciate you approving that. So we have been working on the professional development for our staff. Our coaches and curriculum coordinators have been going through that training. In fact, today was a full day of training, another day tomorrow. They are developing that professional development for our staff. And we have organized May the 17th, the 23rd, and the 24th as voluntary PD days. During those 3 days, our staff will have 2 different opportunities that they can come in. They only need one of those days, but we wanted to give them multiple opportunities. So they'll pick one of 2 opportunities during those 3 days to come in and receive their training on the new ELA resource. Any staff who's not available to come in and do that, because those are non-work days, we will then offer one on a work day, August the 19th, when we come back from school. So we'll have plenty of opportunity for that PD. We also have June the 7th reserved for grades 6-8. And I'm excited about, we are not only still working on the PD date for high school, but we, in this process, realize that one of the things that we've not been strong at is bringing our special education staff along the way and receiving the same level of training and expectations of that resource. And so we are organizing a special training for our special education staff to help them with that resource as well. And so that's something new that we haven't done in the past, and we're going to do. Technology, we are moving forward with a one-to-one. We are one-to-one 612, and we are 2 students, 1 device in K-5, and we believe we have the opportunity next year to move into a one-to-one program, grades 3-5, so that'll put us 312, 1-to-1, and by doing that, currently we have a lot of computer carts in the school buildings that are out in the hallway that are extra carts. If 3-5 is 1-to-1, then those extra carts can be moved to the K1 and 2 rooms, and we believe that in reality, although we won't assign those carts to the classrooms, the teachers in K1 and 2 will actually have the availability of 1-to-1 when they need to. So in theory, we will be 1-to-1 K-12. I'm excited about that, but more excited about in working with Joe, we believe that we have the opportunity to make a few changes for next year. because I think we need to get better at providing the professional development, the expectations, and the support for what does technology look like in the classroom? How do we use that in the classroom? What are the benefits, and how do we use it to enhance our student learning? So we believe we have opportunities to develop that professional development, that support for teachers, and I'll be bringing a plan to you. But I'm more excited about that plan than one-to-one, but just wanted you to know that we're moving forward with one-to-one.
Can I ask you a technology question about just computer labs in general?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Ken and I have seen some schools have them, some schools have eliminated them due to space.
Yes.
Is that, and will those kind of be obsolete anymore with moving this one-to-one?
Yeah, I think you're going to see most of them just disappear because of the one-to-one, because some of them still keep them because they're not one-to-one.
Okay.
It gives them the opportunity to go be one-to-one. So I think once we get to a place where they're no longer one-to-one, you'll stop seeing those being used, and I think they'll just dissolve naturally.
Okay.
We have really allowed the buildings to decide whether they want to keep them or not based on their programming or if they needed space. So the ones that still have them, and there aren't very many, just a few, are because they chose and they wanted to have the opportunity for one-to-one, but I think you'll see those dissolve too.
Okay, thank you.
Summer school is going to be May 28th to June 20th, and so we are currently right now registering our students for summer school. If you recall, two years ago, we had 2,600 students in summer school. We had a goal to beat that last year. We had slightly over 3,000 kids last year, and so we have a goal this year to beat the 3,000 number. So we are moving forward in process of getting kids registered. I'm also excited about, historically for summer school, we have had to reach out and hire a lot of non-school district, non-Jeff City Public School employees to come in, teachers to come in and teach, because our staff didn't have the interest in teaching. Last year that changed. I think we only ended up hiring about 10 individuals that weren't JCPS staff. And so we're excited about the fact that more and more of our teachers are doing that, and we believe it's because of the new model that we used last year with the themed approach, because we had designed that theme, we designed the instruction and the lesson plans and provided them the resource. And so we received some feedback last year, some things we can do differently. But we are moving forward with the themed approach again this year, and we're going to include this year some STEM pieces in the science, so getting kids actively engaged and involved in some science activities. So we're working on developing that curriculum and providing the resources to teachers. That was some of the feedback we heard from teachers is, you know, they tried to do science, but they didn't really have the stuff they needed to do it well, and so we're going to get those designed and provide them the resources they need. So moving forward with STEM activities. And then lastly, I just want to, one of the things that Dr. Lithgum has been, I would call before I even started working here 3 years ago, he had called me at home and said, I know you're not working, but I just need to talk about a couple of things. And one of the things he shared then was his concern with how well we're doing with developing our students in terms of their social skills and setting expectations and intentionally teaching and supporting kids with social skills. It's still on his mind, and he's been giving some ideas about directions he'd like to see us go. And so I just want you to know that I agree. I believe that we intend for our kids to apply good social skills, and we hope that they will, but I don't know how good of a job we're doing with intentionally teaching those social skills and setting those expectations. So formed a committee, and over the coming months, we're going to work on looking at what we do well with supporting our kids and their social skills and behaving the way we want them to behave, and what are we not doing well, and taking the pieces that we do well and making sure that we do them with fidelity and supporting our students. So I just want you to know that we're working on that piece. Okay?
Will that committee have representatives from K through 12?
It is a K-12, so right now it is a group that is represented by, there are a couple of administrators, but there's counselors, behavior interventionists, special education staff. It's kind of a mix of multiple people to get the ball rolling with, and really the people on that committee, I chose them because they have some role in the work that we do around behaviors and social skills and character education. So try to get a mix from all of those different departments to be part of this first group.
Okay.
K-12.
Summer school, driver's ed sold out pretty quick, correct?
Don't know. Yes?
It always does. So with next year, is it true that there's less driver's ed classes going to be offered because of the new school and the transport? So we were thought about maybe adding more summer driver's ed for more kids to be able to take it then?
During the summer, go ahead.
You're right, it is a challenge, Scott, with the
Sure.
second high school.
Right.
So right now, The plan is to do 3 sections of it at Capital City High School, first semester, and 2 sections at JC, simply because they won't have all the classrooms yet. And then we'll flip that second semester where there's 2 sections of it at Capital City and 3 sections at JC. It is a challenge to get everybody through driver's ed that wants it, whether it be during the school year and or summer.
Right.
So we are going to take a look at some long-range plans for driver's education. I actually think we're one of maybe a handful, I don't know how many, who actually have it in the regular high school programming to date.
Right.
Most, if they have it offered during the summer, and is it maybe possible, sure most of them did, it's getting way out there.
Sure. I just heard, I heard that a lot of people were wanting to get in it and they couldn't because it filled so quick, so just didn't know if there's a way we could look at the future of maybe adding.
We will certainly look at that, but I want to also clarify that to the public, that we are not proposing that next year there wouldn't be driver's ed during
No,
the school
I
year as
understand
well.
that.
That's something down the road that we're looking at, but certainly we can look at offering more this summer as well.
And our facilities at Jefferson City High School going to allow for us to do summer school there, even though the construction is going on, or where will it be?
I believe
held?
our plan right now is Simonson.
It'll be held at Simonson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Good report. Appreciate it. Moving on, report from Dr. Lidcombe. Floor is yours.
Yes, we, Capital City High School and renovations at Jeff City High School, as of today, on the 8th of April, that we are on time and under budget. Those were always sweet words to hear, so it's something, and I appreciate Carrie's here with Architects Alliance. Thanks for being here. Dale's here, leading there at the high school. I know Mitchell's been here at different times at Capital City High School, but making sure we're doing what we said we were going to do as far as just with monthly updates. It's a topic. I think Carrie's came to almost every single one of our coffees with Larry to give an update where we're on the construction project. So it's a lot of hands and a lot of team effort, and we talk about being strong together. Truly has been exemplified, not only as far as the construction, but specifically at the high school. I cannot speak enough. Every opportunity I need to give credit to the high school folks of still continuing to have class there. We have students there. Learning's number one, and they're still doing that with a major renovation taking place. So Shana, the rest of your folks, take those words back if you would, please.
Yes. And the kids are doing awesome.
Absolutely.
That's what I was about to say.
Right.
They
Absolutely.
say the kids are handling it better than some of the folks at times. I mean, they're doing great.
They're doing an awesome job.
Well, I know that after the meeting on Friday, every interaction I've had with the Navajos people, they've been so complimentary of our staff and our everybody being flexible and not having a great attitude. So I think that's, again, we can't say that enough.
Absolutely. So thank you to them. On the middle of March, we had a prize patrol. I drove a bus and we took our central office administrators. We went to schools across the district and gave prizes to students and teachers for their growth in their classroom. So we went, I'll just name off here, Callaway Hills, 2 classrooms, Joni Henderson, Brianna Nicholson, with growth and increase. They show gains with reading. These are reading gains growth. We're not saying that they have the most kids reading at or above grade level, but are we getting better? Are we improving? At North, Carrie Gorley's 5th grade class. At Thorpe Gordon, Amy Boucher, is it Boucher? Bouchat? Bochat? Okay. Should just, Bochat?
Some say Bochat.
Okay.
It's okay.
Thank you, and I apologize, Amy.
Next time just spell it, you're okay.
Yeah, I apologize. At Thorpe, Lindsay Hammond at Moral Heights, Jolie Dupree at East, Rebecca Mayer at Lewis and Clark, Lisa Eichen at West Elementary, Jessica Long at Cedar Hill, Amy Dutcher at Cedar Hill, Ashby Engler and Ashley Brimmerkamp at South, at TJ, Sharman Banks and Rachel Sowers, at Lawson, Chelsea Tomlinson and Monica Carr, and at Pioneer Trail, Madison Cooper, and at Bel Air, Beth Hillis and Melissa Simpson. So those teachers, they're doing great things. And so we want to recognize them, kind of a surprise. And so we went around on prize patrol that day. So it was a fun day with that. Our high school Lady Jays girls basketball team had a great year, came in as runner-ups, but had a great season. That was in the middle of March. The social skills that Brian touched on there of we've talked about, this is my 4th year here, 3 years, we ask our staff of focusing on student behaviors. And focusing on student behaviors can be very reactive. We still need to have clear expectations, follow through, accountability, et cetera. But how can we be proactive with that? And so trying to be intentional about that. We're saying we're focused on it. Well, what does that mean? And so we need to see some improvement on that. And we've had discussions. We talked about it last week with all the principals, and recognizing that how we can be proactive with that. So we're excited about that. Our partnership pillar, we had our Equity Council meeting on March 21st. Shelby facilitated that, had a good meeting. Went to Leadership JC and presented to them of happenings going on with JCPS, and that was a good day. Lewis and Clark here at the beginning of April on the 2nd last week. Lewis and Clark, we celebrated their 25th anniversary. And if you were not able to take part in that, would encourage and invite you this Thursday at Thomas Jefferson, as we'll celebrate the 25th year anniversary there as well. We had faculty council, had a coffee with Larry. This past Saturday at Lincoln University, a Men of Color Day, and how we can work stronger together, and just as a school district, acknowledging opportunities for growth for our district staff to better reflect our student population. So it was a great day. There was a lot of energy. We're working with Lincoln to be intentional about attracting more men of color in education. So we are super excited about that, and that was a great day. A lot of, not just here in Jefferson City, but across the state. And we feel very fortunate to be right here in our backyard and working with them. We had a facilities focus group, a follow-up from March, just considering options to assess and evaluate our pre-K through 8 space needs across the district. Next step, we're going to be visiting some buildings with those on the committee, and we're looking forward to that as well. So a lot of things going on, and we're excited to be here. And again, just remind of everybody, thank you for being a part of this, and that we are stronger together. And we've got a lot of good things going on. So, all I've got.
Guys, any questions for Larry? Look like it's a good report.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to new business, approving the election results, April election results for the Board of Education. Somebody have those?
They're on the.
They're in
Yeah, they're in
the
the
agenda
Okay,
and in the
gotcha.
docs.
Okay, so, no action for us. So I always find it interesting that it's listed as approving. Okay, so we approve.
And more of a communication, the Callaway County and Cole County, they approved, certified.
Could I say
certified
something?
ballot. Please.
I'd like to thank Jessica and Steve Brown both for running for school board, because I enjoyed meeting you very much, and I enjoyed hearing your ideas, and hope that we can work together in the future. So, thank you.
Thanks, Lorelei.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Last year we did
Moving
make-
on, next item of business. I'm sorry.
Last year, we did make a motion to approve the ballot, so if we
We
need to do
actually
that this
take
year.
motion?
Believe we did.
Okay.
I would make that motion.
Yeah.
You would make that motion, I bet you
I'll
would.
second.
All right. Okay, thank you, Rich. Thank you, Lindsay. All right. No discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the ballot, or the election results, I should say. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. Okay. Election results are approved. Thanks, Larry.
Okay,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Okay, so next item of business is to adjourn Sine Die, as a hat tip to Latin teachers everywhere. Look for a motion to adjourn Sine Die.
So moved.
Thank you, Ken.
A second.
Thank you, Lindsay. All right. No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you all very much. So as Larry referenced before, we'll have a short reception for outgoing member Rich Abishan. Please join us in the hallway. We'll adjourn for about 10, 15 minutes, and we'll come back and reorganize and continue with business. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Guys, for as long as it took for me to get you that picture.
Yeah, there should have been some weighted responses. Yeah.
That's great.
We have
Larry,
plenty
thanks
of-
for the plaque.
You're
Very
welcome.
kind of you.
Thank you.
Refreshments
Your
out in the
service.
hallway.
Yeah, please join us right out here.
Stretch your legs, join us for a little bit. Yeah.
I'm doing work. Good to see you.
Be good.
You don't want more coffee?
Yes, you were. Yes, you were.
Moving up. that was.
True. That's true. Excuse me.
Throw you under the bus, I was just asking you a question. I wasn't trying to. I had a lot of different
Had that little
They thought 40.
No, he's older than that.
I thought it was my age.
He's older than that.
Like early 50s.
I thought late 40s, early 50s.
There's a teacher over east, husband passed away. There's a picture right there. Do you know him? Not very old.
He's slimmed way down too.
Seriously?
Or no, she spoke the board in favor of the missing and in favor of the earlier start. Elementary.
Is it okay to run up here? No. We need to go back and have you look. I just have
She just typically have you come.
I'll come back. Can't she just stay there?
I told Rich, I said, I don't want to see you skip out and go over there. She really clicked her heels as she walked out either. Smile.
He did, there's no grass grew under his.
Oh,
Okay, can you get moving? All right.
Oh, okay, yes.
Administration of the.
Is that me? This? Okay. So just call them both
We
up.
only do
Just
this
call them
every
both up.
3
Okay.
years.
Exactly, every 3 years.
Not as much as
Okay,
that.
just need to have you guys come up and read the oath and I'll.
Every 2 years.
Perfect. Okay, gotcha.
She better get used to it.
We have to do ours separate.
I do solemnly affirm upon my honor that I will support the constitutions of the United States and of the state of Missouri, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of school director in and for the school district of the city of Jefferson, counties of Cole and Callaway, state of Missouri, to the best of my ability, according to law, so help me God.
Sign it.
Congratulations, lady.
What's on last year? What's on
We just want to make sure you could read.
Sound like you practiced that.
We did. It was good.
Obviously.
They're still testing you.
We learned how to read in the Jefferson City Public School District.
We did.
Amen.
And you passed your test.
That's it.
Go from here. Okay, I'm serving as a temporary chairman. The first election this evening will be for the office of president of the board. Nominations are now open for president.
I would like to nominate Lorelei Swartz.
Okay.
Thank you, Ken.
Okay, Lorelei Swartz is nominated. Are there other nominations? Okay, hearing no further nominations, nominations are closed. We will now proceed to the election. The candidate for president is Lorelei Swartz. I will be conducted by roll call. We will vote here on Lorelei Swartz. So if you are in favor of electing Lorelei Swartz, please respond yes. And if you do not wish to elect Lorelei Swartz, please respond no. You may also abstain. The secretary will call the roll.
Lindsay?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay?
Thank you.
The results of the vote are as follows. There were 7 in favor. And congratulations to Lorelei Swartz.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I now believe I relinquish the chair to your newly elected president.
All right, that would be me. I will open the floor for nominations for the position of Vice President of the Board of Education. Entertain any nominations.
I'd like to nominate Lori Massman for the position of Vice President. And I move that all other nominations cease by acclamation.
Okay,
Thank you.
so nominations are now closed. And so we will vote on Lori Massman as vice president. If you would like to vote yes, please vote yes. And if you'd like to vote no, please vote no or abstain.
Lindsay? Yes.
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Congratulations. Lori's going to be
Congratulations.
vice president. All right. Now we'll open up nominations for treasurer.
I would like to nominate Scott Hovis for treasurer.
Are there any other nominations for treasurer? All right, if not, nominations are closed. Vote yes if you would like Scott for treasurer, and no if you don't, and abstain.
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Doesn't hurt.
Yes.
Lori?
Nope.
Yes.
Ken?
Yes,
Scott?
I think so.
Yes.
All right, thank you, everyone. Congratulations, Scott.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you.
All right,
Let's spend some money.
so now we're going
kidding.
to have to you need to stay on budget and on time.
On budget.
Right.
Follow my role.
All right.
All right.
On budget.
So now we're going to call to order the new board of Board of Education of Jefferson City Public School District. So roll call, Stephanie, please.
Here.
Lori?
Here.
Stephanie?
Here.
Steve?
Here.
Lori?
Here.
Ken?
Here.
Scott?
Here.
Thank you.
All right, so our next order of business is we have to elect a board member to be a delegate position for the Missouri School Boards Association. Somebody want to nominate a delegate position? And we will also need an alternate.
I think Ken Enlow has served admirably in that position in the last year, and Ken, if you'd be willing to continue to do that, I think the board would be well served with him continuing in that role. So I nominate Ken Enlow for the board delegate position for MSBA.
All right, any other nominations? We will vote on Ken Enlow. Want Ken to serve in that position, please say yes. If no, or abstain.
Lindsay?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes?
Stephanie?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Without a doubt, yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And Scott?
Yes.
That was a little doubty.
Okay, now we need to elect an alternate for that position, who will step in when Ken is unavailable. Anybody have any nominations for that?
I would nominate Lindsay. She served in that role this year and I think should continue.
Any other nominations? All right, go for a vote, please.
Lindsay? Yes. Lori?
Yes?
Stephanie?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Now the elections are over. We need to consider and adopt bank certifications to change and authorize the signatures of the newly elected board president, vice president, and treasurer on the various district accounts held at Hawthorne Bank and Central Bank. I guess that was supposed to be Dr. Lincoln.
Yes, and we are just adopting the new signatures. There's no vote or motion needed, but we are adopting the new signatures of the new Board of Education members, so of Lorelei and Lori and Scott. So I don't believe we took action, is that correct, in the past? So just communicating that we are adopting those.
Okay, Stephanie will call us to sign those new signatures. Okay, on to, Joe Martin wants us to, I think, approve a contract for CenturyLink and Voice over IP telephony system.
Good evening. A little
Hi,
worried-
Joe.
I was a little worried I was going
Hi,
to get
Joe.
nominated for something.
We haven't adjourned yet.
Depends on how fast you go.
Here, probably would have.
Yeah, that's right.
The night is young.
There you go.
Exactly.
This voice over IP contract that you have in front of you from CenturyLink, there's really three main drivers for this at this point. One, our old analog system that we have in pretty much all of our buildings except for two in the district is becoming increasingly difficult to support, not only by internal staff, but it's just an outdated technology. So it's getting increasingly difficult to support, as well as bridging the voice over IP system that we have in a couple of our buildings already. Getting it to talk with our old Centrex system is again getting increasingly difficult. So those are two drivers. The main driver, though, is that we've repeatedly heard from teachers that they need more access to phones in their rooms so that they're able to contact parents. Currently, there's just not a good setup in many of the schools. Only access to a phone is either in a planning room or just not enough access to phones. So that's one of the main drivers. This new contract will not only replace all of our old Centrex equipment, but it'll also pretty much add a handset and voice over IP phone in every room, every teacher's room in the district. So giving them more access to communication so they can speak with parents. So those are the main drivers, is getting, the main one, getting teachers more access. Adding all of these new voice over IP systems into the classrooms, because it's an old outdated Centrex system that we have right now. Cost is roughly the same, even with adding all those old devices moving forward. Annually, it's roughly the same cost. So it's just this time we need to do something in all the buildings. So this will be district-wide.
And if I could interject, one of our expectations, meeting with our principals and our teachers, that we want them to have a communication plan with all of our parents and guardians. And some folks didn't want to use their cell phone, understandably so. And so this will allow them to have a communication plan with all of our parents, with our teachers. So we are super excited about that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
Are the phones gonna ring in the rooms? Like, what if the parents call back?
They can be set to not ring in their rooms, to where they can, I mean, they would ring, but they would be silent, obviously. So it's something that can be controlled on the back end.
So it'll go to like voice, it'll go to voice.
It won't go to voicemail, it would just
Ring
ring
indefinitely.
silently.
Do we anticipate any savings on what we're paying currently for long distance charges?
Yeah, so CenturyLink waived all of their long distance charges for domestic calls by going with this contract. So as long as we're not calling Mexico or Canada to talk with parents, we should be fine. Yeah, all domestic long distance. So there is savings that weren't even figured into roughly what we're spending on Centrex that we will realize because of some long distance.
And no limitations on that? It's
Right.
unlimited. Okay.
And I would also add, just because obviously we have voice over IP currently in the board office, this also includes a backup measure for buildings so that if something would happen and we lose network connectivity, it fails over to an LTE system. So it's a wireless system that it's got limited capabilities, but it will at least, every building would be able to speak and buildings won't be down if we would happen to lose network connectivity for some reason.
As long as they have an LTE signal.
Correct.
So, I mean, I know some buildings, there's no,
Yeah, I could think of two that
Yeah.
there's issues in that we've been looking at ways to
Okay.
see what we can do there.
okay.
So we'll still be encouraging parents when they want to notify a teacher to go through the office, so that will,
Yes.
hence all the ringing in the classroom and,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
So our extension is going to be set up district-wide, or will each building have their own set of extensions? When we look at,
It would be just as we are now. So each it would be district-wide, whereas we actually are waiting right now for a list of extensions for each building, but they would be able to do the 4-digit dialing just like we're able to do now.
Okay.
I would entertain a motion to approve this contract.
So moved.
Second?
Any further discussion on this topic? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you all.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
All right, so now Frank Underwood's going to talk about a contract with GBH Construction for renovations at Weber Building in the locker rooms.
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
So GBH Construction, we had a bid not too long ago, and they came in at a low bid for some work on the Weber Building. I'll just read here, sorry, I put my glasses on here. New masonry, veneer, window replacement, additional insulation, general caulking, waterproofing, and sealant for the outside. Press box work that'll include exterior paint on all the surfaces, masonry, the ephes and the windows, paint doors and frames, columns, downspouts, general caulking, and waterproofing, and sealant for the press box as well as the Weber Building. Their bid came in, restrooms, like, so we'll be doing that as well as putting new locker seating in the locker rooms. Right now, it's got carpet in there, and we're looking at something that's going to replace that, and it's going to be a lot more sanitary, easier to clean, be able to get germs and all that kind of stuff out of it. Carpet's probably not the best way to go for that. So, bid came in at $371,590. I'm asking the board for consideration approval for that amount for GBH Construction.
Questions?
What athletes are utilizing the Weber building?
Track, football,
Cross country.
cross country,
It's a wide variety of kids.
and I think the girls also utilize it for track.
And cross country.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So it does appear that all of the contractors that Architects Alliance is recommending are local, is that correct?
That's the way it looked like to me.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, Eldon, if that's local, yeah, then, yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, contract's approved. All right, so Miko Engineering.
Miko Engineering, we've asked them to do some field work to identify existing conditions, preparation documents for suitable for bidding. We want to go out to bid for a pre-bid. So what they'll do is the design and engineering for control systems, the HVAC control systems. Currently, it's running on these things, if you know what they are.
Oh my
Oh my gosh.
Lewis and Clark
Floppy is what I call it.
runs off of a IBM 386.
Well,
So we're looking to do Lewis and
can't hack
Clark.
it through the cloud.
No, not really.
I have.
We have
know
the
what that
same
is,
system at TJ and at LC.
Yeah, we have it at TJ and LC. Right now, LC is the one causing a lot of problems, and so we're, over the summer, we're hoping to get that upgraded and taken care of. This is just for the engineering and planning for that, as well as the pre-bid meeting and take care of that. Their proposal came in at 14.5. We're asking for consideration and approval to move forward with these people to design and engineer a new HVAC control system for Lewis and Clark.
Would entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Contract approved. All right, Architects Alliance.
All right, Architect Alliance, we have asked them to look at North Elementary as far as design and what it's going to take to keep the water out of the gym. I don't know if you guys have been in there to look at the walls inside of the gym. Our facade is leaking water around the gym that drive it. There's that black band that runs along there. It's starting to pull away from itself. It's allowing water in there. If you ever visit the school, go up on the stage, back behind the stage, up on the stage area and look up the wall, and you can see we're getting water penetration there. And so what we're asking Architects Alliance to do is to go look at it, see what it's going to cost to get it fixed, and then design something that's going to seal that building up and keep it in good shape down the road. Their proposal is $11,790 to do this. I ask for your all's consideration and approval to do that.
So moved. A second.
Any discussion?
Was that a competitive bid? I mean, was there anybody else that bid that project?
Not locally, no. I mean, there are other people that do it. They were not lower than what he was proposing to do at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Contract approved. All right, Specialized Education Missouri. This is Bridget Frank, Director of Special Services.
Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have two contracts here. They're both for High Roads School of Boone County. So for those of you that might be not familiar, High Roads is the separate day facility that we utilize. We've already have students that receive services there. So it's a separate day facility for students who have pretty significant social, emotional, behavioral needs, and that is something that we utilize when we're not able to provide adequate services in a safe manner here within our district. So how High Roads works is they have contracts for individual students, because each student might require different specialized services, and so the contracts are identical. The difference is there's a slight difference in price, just again depending on the services that a student might need.
So,
Can I ask a question? Now, how many kids do we have that we're sending to Columbia?
So it's roughly 4 students now, so this would make 6.
Okay.
so these are 2 additional, and these are 4 specific students.
Yes, each contract is for a individual student.
Okay.
Do we usually send about 6, or is it more or less?
So in the big scheme of things, High Roads is relatively a new service. It's been around for several years now. So that number has fluctuated. The students that are already within the program have been there for several years, so that number has maintained the same. We've probably have added 1 or 2 students each year. We have some students that transfer from other districts that might already be in the program, so it's about the same. We've typically added 1 or 2 students every year too.
Okay, thanks.
Can you tell me about transportation? I did not read the fine print, so if
So-
it's in there, I'm sorry.
It is not part of this contract, but as a district, we do transport students.
And
out there.
that's an extra cost on top of the tuition itself?
It is, so all the students that attend High Roads ride the same bus, so it
Okay.
would not be an additional cost. It would just be,
One.
yeah, so it's
One
one bus. And we also, several other neighboring districts utilize High Roads as well, and they have asked to ride the same bus, and so we get some reimbursement from other districts. This cost is also, most of the students, any student that receives special education that services that go above and beyond what a typical student might receive, so that costs what we call a high needs fund. Students that have more than 3 times the cost of a typical student, we do get reimbursed for those for special education purposes. So all of our students that attend High Roads typically we're able to recoup some of these costs through that high needs fund.
And are these services available for K through 12?
It is K through 12. And they have 2 separate wings in High Roads. They have one that's more for students with typically autism that have more significant language delays as well, and one more that's more social and behavioral side where they have don't have those significant language delays, and it's more primary social and behavioral focus.
Thanks. So moved.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes for both contracts.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Bridget.
Yep, thank you, Bridget.
But Brian, can I interject here a second? Excuse me?
Sure. Oh, okay. Okay, just 1 minute. We forgot to approve the board secretary. So does somebody want to nominate Stephanie as the board secretary?
I would like to
Yes.
It's a unanimous.
Unanimous
all would like
nomination,
to.
huh? No, we don't want to nominate anyone else. All those in favor of Stephanie serving as the board secretary, I guess we got to do a roll call vote, huh?
Yes.
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Steve?
I guess.
Lori?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Schindler, sorry. Thank you for letting me know that.
Thank you.
And we'll consider and approve this massive revised curriculum.
Okay, so yes, there is a lot of curriculum, but it's spring and it's time to approve curriculum. So I got to looking at those, the packet that you have. If you were to divide out all of the grade levels, so for example, you took all of the K-5 and you divided them out by grade level, there are close to 50 different curriculum that you have access to and are reviewing. And so I know that it's a lot, and we went into this school year knowing that this was going to be a lot, and we questioned whether we should do all of them, but we just believed that we were far enough behind on so many of these that we needed to make progress. And so this was an unusually large year for curriculum. But I do want to say this, I want to remind everyone that our curriculum writing process involves our teachers. Our teachers literally are the curriculum writers. So what we do is, although we have a curriculum coordination team, the actual writers are our teachers. So if you think about the nearly 50 different curriculum that you have there, we typically have somewhere between 2 to 3, and in some cases departments that are writing. We have a lot of our staff that are engaged in this process, and they do it for free. They volunteer to do it, and so we are incredibly thankful. We couldn't get it done without our teachers, and so we appreciate their willingness to do it. The good side of it is that we have our practitioners, our end user product, the folks that are going to use that product are actually the ones developing it. And so it is a good process, but it just requires a lot of work on the backs of our teachers. Along with that, and so we're very thankful, along with that, we have I've said this before, we have an incredibly strong and diligent curriculum coordinator team with Dr. Julie Schaefer, Dana Muted, and Jessica Dinkler. They are three incredibly good folks who know this process inside and out. They know what good product looks like, and they are a lot of fidelity to the process. And we couldn't get this done without the three of them. So we have a very strong coordinators in place, and I'm thankful for those three ladies because they are involved in every day, anytime curriculum is being developed. They are heavily engaged in that process, and I appreciate them. So with that said, the question ought to be asked, so what is it that's new about this product that's in our hand compared to what we already had? That ought to be your question. And so I would say this, these are some of the assurances that you have. You have an assurance with this product that the right standards are in the right grade level, organized for optimal rigor and relevance for our students. As students progress through our school system K-12, you have an assurance that there is an alignment of the standards and the expectations and the support so that our students no longer have gaps in their learning from K-12. That has been a problem for us, is gaps in learning. And it's been a problem because we haven't had a formalized process in place to ensure that there was vertical alignment. So we knew that what we were teaching our kids in kindergarten was preparing them for first, and first knew what they were doing, and they were preparing for second. Because we've had a lot in the past where just departments or groups of people would just get together in a room and just write curriculum. They'd pull the standards from wherever they could pull them, and they would organize their own curriculum, and they would move forward and teach, because that's what we had at the time. The problem with that is there was no alignment, no organization, and a lot of inconsistencies. So we have eliminated those. So the product that you have in front of you eliminates all of that. It eliminates the gaps of instruction for our students. I'll say this, if you are a student, if you approve these, if you're a student in Jeff City Public Schools, tonight's a good night for you. This is an incredibly strong curriculum for our students. You also have a lot of consistency because of the process we use. You have consistency in the process or the template. You have consistency in the language. You have consistency in expectations. You have an assurance that our students are engaged in a rigorous and relevant curriculum. That's what this process does for us. So that's what's new, because if you were to take this product and lay it side by side with the old product, you'd notice that none of those things that I just mentioned, you couldn't say those things about the old product. As you looked at those documents, you probably noticed things like there are the prioritized standards. You saw things like the depth of knowledge. You saw the learning targets. You saw the big ideas and the assessment pieces and the alignment to the resource. You wouldn't have seen any of that in our old curriculum. That's what's new about this is that it's incredibly tight and organized and intentional. And it's a product that a classroom teacher, even our brand new teachers who struggle sometimes with getting good quality lesson plans and knowing exactly what to teach, this is a product that you can follow very precisely and produce good, solid lesson plans and be ensured that you're teaching the right stuff to your kids and preparing them for the next grade level. So that's what you're getting with this product. So you also have, I believe you have the list of, there are different curriculums. Some of those were revised courses, which means we already had them. We just updated them according to new standards. So those are the K-5 Library Media and K-5 English Language Arts for elementary. For secondary, you have the 6-8 Library Media, 9-12 Library Media, A+ Tutoring, AP English, Debate 1 and 2, Driver's Ed, English 1 and 2, Metal Tech 1 and 2, Newspaper Production, Personal Finance, Woodworking 1 and 2, and Yearbook Production. And then also on your list, you had several classes that are new to us. And that happens because we have a process in place where typically at the high school level, when teachers want to propose a new course, we have a process where they can propose a new course to their building administration. Administration then brings it to the curriculum instruction office, and we review the potential of that course and whether or not we can get the curriculum written, and do we have enough students who want that course. And so you have a list of new courses, and they are 6-8, the 6-8 ELA and 6-8 writing, and you might say, well, those aren't new. We've always taught middle schoolers how to read and write. But remember, we took ELA and we've separated it out. So we now have reading and writing as separate courses. You have agriculture, leadership, broadcast media, floral design, food science, honors biology, the integrated Missouri studies, landscape turf maintenance, Missouri studies, and the vet science. So those are all new courses. A few of those are classes that we did have. For example, I think broadcast media and food science, you might say, well, those are classes we have had. Why are they under new? And it's because historically we've had the classes, but we've not had a curriculum. And so we now have curriculum written for those courses. So those are the list of revised and new curriculum, and I'd entertain questions about our process or the product itself. And
I might just interject here. You also have a copy of the graduation requirements from the Department of Elementary Secondary Ed, so you just have it for any reference.
I'll say this, that there is still some work to do. So all of these courses, the new secondary courses and the secondary revised courses, all that I just mentioned, have all been updated to the 7-period day, which we've been discussing for quite some time. So they are ready for 7-period. There are still several that were not going through this process of revision that need to be changed to 7-period. And so the week of the 22nd here, within a couple weeks, the teams are coming together and they will wrap that up within a day, and those will be completed. We'll have all courses that have gone through our process will be updated for the 7-period day and completed.
I have a couple questions.
Me too.
Just because this is my first board meeting, so I got my packet from Stephanie on Friday and I was intent to read the entire thing, and I got through kindergarten and realized that's not gonna happen. So just so I understand, you're saying in the past, different schools or groups of teachers would just write their own curriculum. So say what was being delivered at West versus East versus Pioneer Trail was not necessarily the same, even
Yes.
though they knew what learning standards, but there was no.
Not necessarily so much at the elementary level, but at the secondary, the high school
Okay.
level. So it happened a lot at the high school level, secondary level.
Okay, second question. Do teachers volunteer to write curriculums? Are they selected? What is the criteria to be one of the writers?
Good question.
And, are they kind of clustered? So tell us a little bit about that.
So what we do is we first reach out to our principals and just say, these are the curriculum that are going to be, that we're going to be revising. And we ask, because they know their teachers well, we ask them to consider those that have been involved in the past, those that have an interest in curriculum writing, those who are doing a great job and want to be involved. They then reach out to those teachers and they talk to them about what their potential, whether they want to. If we get a nod that they're interested, then we reach out and we do an invitation to them. Sometimes they say no, not interested in that process. Most times they do accept, and yes, they do it for free. So it happens during the school day, and so what they get is a substitute teacher covers their classroom for them. They're out throughout the day, and they spend all day at Dick Center writing curriculum. So that's probably the negative side of it, is we then have to have a substitute teacher in a course, as opposed to the teacher being there. And on any one of these things, it could take 5-6 days in the year, so that many days that a substitute there. So that's the negative side, but I think it's outweighed by the fact that these are the folks who are going to use this product, and having them write it. I'd rather do that than just buy something off the shelf and say, this is what somebody else said you should do.
I appreciate all the work that goes into this. This is a lot, and
Absolutely.
It's a lot of detail, and I appreciate you showing us the new and revised. In the future, or maybe you can talk on it a little bit tonight, but can we talk about the things that we're eliminating? I have a son that'll be in 9th grade, and so we've been working on his 4-year plan. And one of the concerns that I've noticed is that we're not requiring world history anymore. And I think that is a miss. So are there other things that I wouldn't have noticed that we're pulling out and that we're eliminating?
Well, so let me just say something, and then you tell me if I didn't answer it.
Okay.
So We didn't eliminate, we changed it. So we changed the expectation from required to an elective
Elective.
course. So we didn't eliminate. So are there multiple times when classes don't get filled? Yeah, we have a lot of classes in our catalog that if kids don't, if enough kids don't sign up or request that class, they don't get offered, but they're still there. They still exist. We just don't, we don't, for example, world history, we will not offer it this time, but it's still part of our catalog. And if we had enough kids sign up for next year, then it would be offered.
So potentially you could take it as an elective your senior year, which, I mean, I'm not sure. I know many seniors that would do that. This year, is it not true that every sophomore took world history? I mean, so that's not an issue of kids not signing up for it. I guess my concern is
But
that.
it was required. I mean, it was required.
It was
for us.
required, but I guess where I'm having a hard time, when you look at the state requirements, just because DESE says it's not a requirement doesn't mean we shouldn't teach our kids about world history.
I'd agree with that.
And we are, I mean, you know, the testing requirements haven't changed, so some of that information they're gonna have to learn somewhere. We're pushing Missouri Studies and that integrated Missouri Studies course, which in the last several months, we've been told that we need a 7-period day because there's not enough time. Yet on the other hand, we're saying that this integrated course is, we should offer this because it's a good use of time. I'm just feeling like those two things don't go together. I don't know, as a parent, I'm struggling with when are my kids gonna learn about those things? Because I sure am not knowledgeable enough to teach them the information that's offered in that class. And I know that if my son has a choice, he's not gonna take it as a senior, not as an elective. So I have some concerns about the social studies curriculum.
Legitimate concerns. So DESE requires U.S. history and government. Those are two that they require. What's your third one? They require 3 credits. What your third one is up to you. And so most times you're either going to see some form of a Missouri history, or you're going to see world history. And we've looked, there's a lot of districts surrounding us that still have world history and then the U.S. history and government, and they don't have a Missouri piece. But what they have to do, because DESE also requires that you're going to be assessed on, if you read their language, they want an emphasis on Missouri history and Missouri government. They want an emphasis on that. So if you're not going to have a class that intentionally teaches that, you're going to have to take Missouri history and Missouri government, and you're going to have to kind of stick it somewhere in government, or stick it somewhere in U.S. history, or stick it, you have to put it somewhere because they have to learn it. And that's what surrounding districts do. We've done that in the past. That's what
You
we have
bet,
done.
but we've done it in the past, and
Yeah.
our EOC scores in social studies are phenomenal. Our scores right now are really good, am I wrong?
But I don't know that if I would attribute that because we put our Missouri standards into it.
I would agree with you, but why change something that's not broken, I guess is my concern. I don't know that we can come up with it, even when I was reading through the curriculum, that we could come up with a year's worth of Missouri studies. I don't know, I'm not sure it's a good use of time for our kids, so.
Fair enough, appreciate it. And really, I'll just tell you, the reason that there were a lot of conversations went on for a very long time. Is that third course going to be world history, or is that third class going to be Missouri studies? And in the end, when DESE tells us that they want us to have an emphasis on Missouri, it made more sense if that's where their emphasis, because otherwise we would have done the same thing, take those Missouri standards and just stuff them somewhere. And it came down to, would we put world history as a required class and Missouri government and history as an elective, as an option for our kids? And we just didn't know that was a wise thing to do either. Or do we just stick them places? So there were I just want you to know, there were a lot of conversations that took place around this topic with the Simonson Center, with the high school staff, with the curriculum coordinators, in struggling with what was the best route to go.
So is it safe to, could I clarify, is it safe to say that instead of world history, that Missouri studies, which is basically Missouri government and Missouri history,
yes,
replace that of basically, because the Missouri and U.S. Constitution test, the American Civics test, I mean, those are the tests that are given, right?
Yes, so the assessments are, they have to do the Constitution assessment and the civics assessment, and there's a government
in
end
the
course.
graduation
It's on
report?
page 7 of
It
the.
is.
I guess, yeah, that would be my question. Are we confident that this change does not create any disadvantage as far as the kinds of, standardized college entrance exams and those kinds of things that they're going to be, taking? Are we confident that we're not missing any components of those?
Well, again, we're relying on DESE, and DESE does not require world history. It is not a required course.
Okay.
Do we all sixth grade students, Steve? Is it sixth graders, all sixth graders?
Sixth grade, all sixth graders are required to go through world history.
Okay.
But it's, obviously, it's not the high school level.
As a sixth grade level.
At a sixth grade level, yeah.
Yeah, my comment would be is that I echo some of the same concerns that Lindsay's articulated. I think from a parental standpoint, I certainly appreciate the amount of work that goes into making these type of decisions. I mean, there's a lot of different moving parts here. And so certainly being respectful of that, but I also worry that, I wonder if we're not doing our kids a disservice by making that an optional course, even considering DESE's current situation or how they approach that course. And I can't tell you the number of times, I mean, certainly not to slight Missouri history, but from an adult's perspective, I mean, I have benefited from the education I received from this, from JCHS here in this very district in terms of world history. I've benefited from that a lot as a professional. And so, I think I'd like to hear a little bit more. I mean, I think this is an item that probably needs a little bit deeper discussion. I would have some trepidation about going forward with it. That particular part of the curriculum, not the entire body of work that you guys have done, but just the social studies part. I would have some concerns about upping that.
So part of my question, I give to follow on that, you mentioned that the teachers volunteer to come together to write.
Yeah.
From that creation step, then what is the kind of approval process, or what steps does their work go through from that creation to final
To here?
inclusion here? Yeah.
So throughout the entire process, as they're working, our three coordinators that are, they're monitoring this process very meticulously in terms of what the state standards, we have all the priority standards and the supporting standards, all the components, so they're monitoring it as we go. And there's oftentimes that they'll give it back and say, need to rethink this, need to do it. And so it's a very long process. It takes a long process for them to produce the documents you have. Once they're done and the coordinators have approved that it meets the guidelines for rigor and relevance, then it comes to you obviously for approval. If you approve it, then we make it official to our classroom teachers and they can begin using it. So we withhold it from teachers until it's approved by you.
Okay,
I will say
is there an opportunity then for a department at the high school, for example? So if they saw this change and the consensus among the history, social studies teachers at the high school, if the consensus there was, whoa, we're not getting the sense, from them that that's a good decision, then is there an opportunity for us to step back and say, okay, based on our faculty's input and their, pulse on the finger of, the kids overall, is there an opportunity to
We
adjust?
don't take it back to departments and say, hey, this is what was produced, will you review it before we take it to the board? I will tell you this, that the folks who were involved in the process of making these changes, it was our teachers, it was our high school staff that did that. Can I tell you that all the high school staff love this idea? No, some of them because they believe exactly what you're saying, and some of them, quite frankly, is because they've always taught world history and they don't want to change. That's just the truth, that's just the way it is. I will tell you this, though, that the folks that wrote the Missouri Studies and then elected that world history become an elective, they had some concerns about some of the world history standards not being taught. And so they went through and pulled some world history standards that DESE provides that they had previously taught and embedded those into the Missouri Studies. Those world history standards, I think there are 5 of them, are 5 that they believe were the essential ones that kids needed in order to ensure success when they get to into the upper level of U.S. history and government, mostly government. So there are world history standards in the Missouri Studies curriculum. You'll notice those marked as WH.
So is there
But I can't tell you that every social studies
I was just
teacher-
curious what if there was an opportunity for us to rely on their perspective and their feedback before we actually, it becomes set in set in concrete.
Absolutely. No, I can't tell you that. we rely on the folks who are writing to be the spokespeople for, because remember, this takes place over months, that they don't just come in isolation and do something, they come and they write, and the intent is you go back and you're having conversation at your department level. I would like to assume that the social studies staff members who were involved in this process were not secretive in any way, that they were going back having conversations with the social studies department, as was the math and the ELA. And so.
And I believe, am I correct, that Bob James, Joe Lockstead, I mean, as far as high school administration, Gary Verslois, I mean, that it's, they're bringing that as a recommendation, that they have endorsement that it
They
is.
brought it as a recommendation, yes.
Okay.
With endorsement from teachers.
I can't tell you.
I mean,
unless you
they're
want
the
to speak to that.
experts. They're the experts that are in the classroom from our kids. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the curriculum as presented with the exception of the social studies curriculum.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
So what is the ramifications if we go against what DESE recommends? Since they're obviously recommending us to do government, we're not, and we're suggesting we're going to go against that, what happens?
If you believe that world history needs to be put back as a required course, we have to do one of two things. We will either need to require 4 credits of, and DESE's recommendation is 3, so we would have to do all 4, 9, 10, 11, 12, every year you'd have social studies, or we will need to dissolve Missouri Studies and take all of the Missouri history and Missouri government standards that must be taught, that we don't have a choice, and we will have to embed those in government, U.S. history, and world history. We will have to do that.
Can we get all that accomplished in 1 year if you're teaching all that?
So that was part of our concern is that we're going to take all the Missouri stuff and tell the government teacher and the U.S. history teacher, not only are you going to teach U.S. history and government, you also have to cover all of the Missouri stuff. That in itself is a concern because our teachers currently say, I don't have enough time to cover the things I need to cover. So not only am I going to teach U.S. history, I'm going to teach U.S. history and the Missouri history and the Missouri government.
So basically, we're adding more work to our kids if we go against this. We're going to make them take another class. Am I correct?
You're adding work to the class teachers, those teachers who teach U.S. history and government.
Who don't have time anyway. That's what they're telling us.
So one of those two options is what we have.
Okay.
We can't ignore that DESE has put an emphasis on those 2 areas. So we would either have to have 4 social studies credits and leave it alone and add world history back, or we would have to dissolve Missouri studies and embed those into the other 3 courses.
And I guess my thought is if we approve this motion with that exception, then I would like to somehow recommend that our process then include as many of the faculty that are involved in in that department in kind of deciding how we go forward.
I would like to see it that we ask this faculty, and if it comes back that more faculty want to keep it the way you're suggesting it, then we keep it that way. And so the people who are upset that teach the class, they're not going to teach it anymore, the ones not happy about this.
I'm more than happy to do that. I don't want a product that people don't want. I mean, our process is to put a product in their hands that they want. And we don't always do that, but I think for the most part, people like the work that's done. So I'm more than happy to engage in more conversations about that if that's what the board prefers.
I think you look at the kids that sorry.
No, go ahead.
Quick comment. So my big issue is, like I said, just kind of circling back around from a community standpoint, from a parental standpoint. I totally get the importance of looking at the DESE recommendation and what they put forward, and I don't think we should deviate wholesale from that. But I think this is an important particular instance where, I hate to say it, guys, but I mean, I think you can walk up to a kid on the street and ask, hey, a basic geography question, or who won World War II, or when was the Korean War a war or a conflict? And I have a hard time hearing or knowing that a lot of kids these days can answer those basic questions. So when you talked about, and I'm not suggesting you do this, but when you talked about 4 credits, right, social studies, to me, I hear absolutely no problem with that. I mean, I really don't. I can't recall, it's been too long, I can't recall if that's how it was whenever I went through high school, but I know the program that was in place whenever I was there, I was really well served by that. And to me, this is an aspect where I want our kids to be able to leave this place and be able to be knowledgeable about the world in the larger context, because studies show 65% of them, 65-70% of the kids that are from here will move somewhere else. They won't necessarily stay here. So I think it benefits them for us to continue to look at this a little bit deeper.
I can appreciate that. Keep in mind that if we were to take the route of having 4 social studies credits, you would then reduce the opportunity for all students to take an elective that they choose. That is currently what we do, and that was one of the factors that was put into play as well, as we opened up another opportunity for kids to take what they wanted as opposed to what we required.
When did
Understood.
DESE drop the world history requirement? How long ago was that?
To my knowledge, I cannot remember unless you,
My knowledge, it was never a requirement.
we just
Well,
did
it was
it.
never a requirement.
Because of the very reasons you guys are talking about, districts decided that they felt that it was an important course, and so they required it. And I'll tell you, a lot of surrounding districts still require it, but there's work to be done if you do that.
Sure.
And it's a fine line when you can ask your computer or your phone, you know, what are the 3 basic principles of, you know, a conflict or a war, et cetera. You know, how are we teaching kids how to think? So it's a fine line. One thing I might just say, if you do determine to have 4 requirements, I think before that decision was made that you should probably weigh, because I believe, if I'm correct, science, there's 3 requirements. Is that correct? DESE
Yes.
requirements, it's 3.
Yes.
So why'd you say social study need to go to 4 but not science? I'm not advocating for science. I'm saying
Science has
that's
3.
that's something I think you should consider if you were going to add one. Is that the correct one to add? Because your science folks would be just as passionate about science. Things to consider moving forward.
Well, just personally, I'm less concerned about their ability on the street to be able to answer those kinds of questions, because I think a lot of adults couldn't. But I'm more concerned about them being prepared for the kinds of, again, requirements that they're going to be able to pursue in terms of college and things like that. I'd be more concerned about, are we preparing them to be able to have the base of knowledge to do what they want to do when they graduate?
I have more concern that the 7 of us are the ones who are making that decision instead of the teachers the ones teaching it.
I agree.
Because it's not, I mean, it's not fair for us 7 to sit up here and vote and take away an opportunity for my daughter to have a different class because we're requiring her to take world history. So I think it falls back on what the teachers, the ones teaching it in the class, and what you guys,
If we
it's
can get
not.
their input.
Their
I think that'd be
buy-in,
important.
Yeah, so.
All right, so we have a motion and we have a second, and we've had discussion, and we're asking Dr. Schindorf to go back to the Social Studies Department and figure out if there is a solution to this issue, and if there's some consensus from those teachers. Is that accurate?
So there would be 2 courses on here you would not be approving. It'd be the Missouri Studies and the Integrated Missouri Studies. So just so you know that we do have the integrated course, which is ELA and Missouri Studies. So one of the reasons we did that was to give kids choice. You might be familiar with the POC course, which is a combined integrated class. So to give kids more choice, currently under this model, kids had a choice. They could take on your form, the Integrated Missouri Studies, which is combined ELA and Missouri Studies into one together. Or if you didn't like that, you could take them separate. You could take Missouri Studies and you could take ELA separate. So it was a choice. So by eliminating Missouri Studies, you eliminate that opportunity for our students.
I feel like that worked when we were doing block, but then you guys came to us and said we need 7 period, we need to shorten the class times for our middle school kids, or we need to shorten the class time and give,
The integrated is a double block.
it's a double block, which I feel like that message conflicts because those kids are in there for 2 periods.
But it provides them the opportunity of an integrated course. I get it, but you're going to
Yeah.
take 2 anyway. You're going to take Missouri Studies, you're going to take a history or
I
a social
agree,
studies and
yeah, I get what you're saying, but to be there for 2 hours, or for
2 blocks.
104 minutes, or whatever it is.
So what are we voting on again? Can you repeat what the motion is, please?
The motion was to accept the curriculum as presented, except for social studies, which I assume we are tabling until next month, until we can get some more information. There was a motion and a second.
Thank you.
Are we ready to vote? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Could you please come back to us next month with some sort of information on social studies? Okay.
Thank
you very much for your work and for all the teachers who put in
Yeah.
a tremendous amount of work on this. All right, you see the future dates. I don't need to read them to you. And next would be, who wants to take over my role as the motion to suspend from open into
That
closed?
seems to be a vice presidential duty, I think.
No, Lindsay called it first. She's
Lindsay
already-
wants to.
She's all excited.
Okay, motion to suspend open to enter into the closed meeting by roll call vote pursuant to chapter 610.021 of the revised statutes of Missouri, sections 1, legal actions, 3, hiring, firing, disciplining, 13, individually identifiable personnel records, and 14, records which are protected from disclosure by law.
Second.
All right, no discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You do it by roll call.
Oh, roll call vote.
Lindsay?
Yep.
Yes. Lorelei?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Do we have
Yes.
stuff? Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Scott, thank
yes.
you.
Do we have closed session stuff?
Okay, we'll take
Turn.
just a short